Hey, this is Andy Jenkins, and welcome back to the podcast. I am actually at the hilltop, but this time I'm in the tiny house, not in the office because, well, one, the office is a mess. Two, there's only 2 chairs in there, mine and Beth, so you really can't have company in your office, or at least ours. And 3, we've got this big living room area here in the bottom of the tiny house where when I have guests in, that tends to be where we record. Now, this episode is another installment on the Coaches series. That is when I really try to bring in experts, people who are way better than me in a certain area. And by the way, if you are one, reach out to me. Trying to find experts in, let's just talk through it, fitness, finance, family, faith, your field, or whatever you do for your career or with all of your full time, friends. And the topic I'm going to talk about today is fun. That's way more important than you probably even thought. In fact, we tend to schedule fitness. We make goals around that. We budget money. That's kind of a schedule for where the dollars are supposed to go. We make goals related sometimes to our family, faith. People start picking up, I'm going to do this 21-day fast, or I'm going to read through the Bible in a year or in 90 days, or all sorts of things. But rarely do people actually step back and schedule and talk about fun. But I guarantee you, your life will be way better if you do that. So here in my house, I have my friend Barbara Kenyon that I met. I think I met you. You got to talk so they'll hear your voice now at Starbucks. A few years ago, and we have all these common friends because, like your friends, the family that I have a couple goddaughters, and I am, so you guys know, a godfather, and that they actually call me that. Like just by and I get the definite article, like the movie The Godfather. Yeah, so I get some godsons. That whole family, the Cook family is fabulous. But we figured out we had that in common. Mm-hmm. And okay, take me on the journey because you were doing events when I met you.
Yes, yeah, Happy Event Company. That's why I was right in the middle of it, and I had just started, I guess, a couple of years earlier. I had gotten back into event design, and but that's been my career. That's what I went to school for.
College, you're trained in that.
I was one of the first. I was very fortunate. My professor tailored my coursework towards event management. So, because there were no degrees in event management, and so I got my master's in event management.
Did you know you wanted, because people tend to think, oh, I'm going to grow up and be a fireman. Mm-hmm. I'm going to grow up and be a nurse. But did you always know, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to plan parties?
I did not.
So where is that shift?
Yeah, so I think the clearest steps for that, I wanted to be a second grade teacher. And then I decided not to be a second grade teacher.
Because no kid is thinking, I've got a second grader, and he is not thinking school is fun. There's no correlation. Right.
That was very clear to me. And then I thought, oh, you know what? I'd love to be a child life specialist. I think maybe that was around the time of what was the Robin Williams film? Patch Adams. Yeah.
Yeah, where he's a doctor, but he's a fun doctor. He's using his skill set in a unique way.
Right. So I love sociology, psychology, all of that. And I love children. And I just wanted to, I thought that I learned about child life specialists in my undergrad. And so I thought, oh, how amazing. I could still be with children. I could cultivate an amazing atmosphere for them. It will be fun. I don't necessarily have to teach anything, but just create a fun atmosphere. And then I spent some time down at Children's for a very brief internship. And I realized, no.
That is not my wheelhouse. That's high.
That is not. Anyone in the medical field I have that utmost respect for, because it's this very special gift that you can do what you have to do and leave that.
You'd have to be able to turn it off.
You have to turn it off. Yeah. And not bring it home to your family. And I didn't even have a family then. And I was a total basket case because I thought, this is not always fun.
Right.
I can create a fun and happy atmosphere, but a lot of times it doesn't stay that way. Not everything has a happy ending there.
Well, and even if you're bringing an injection of fun there, you're going to an environment where people are coming because of
something sad,
of trauma or something sad.
Yeah. So I was actually nannying for 2 little boys at the time, and the lady that I was nannying for, she was one of the head professors at Auburn in my school, but it was in the School of Human Sciences. But she wasn't my professor. So she saw me changing, growing, and she said, well, what if you got your master's? You'd be great in event management. I was working at a golf course at the time. I loved throwing parties, doing that just because I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
You'll hear that word a lot, so it's a good thing that's the title of this. And so she walked me through it, and there were a couple of courses throughout the United States at the time. It was just coursework. So she gathered all those courses together and said, okay, we are going to tailor your master's program towards event management.
So she basically created this for you. Mm-hmm. Do they still have it, or was it a one-off?
That was a one-off. Now I'm sure it's a lot more in depth. So it was, it was hotel and restaurant management.
Yeah.
And then because it was a master's, she tailored it to that specific area.
Yeah, to what you're trying to do.
Yeah. So now I know, in most schools, I think it's, in marketing, business marketing. I know you can get degrees in event management now, but way back when you couldn't.
Yeah. That's a great. I had no idea about all of that. That was kind of the story that you had followed.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start doing events.
Right, and because because I had that master's degree, I was qualified to move abroad. I was actually headhunted, which I guess it's been so many years now. I don't feel like that's bragging. I used to not ever say that, but I wanted to go back to London. I studied in London, and then I just knew my heart was there. And so I reached out to a guy, and God kind of just threw those doors open, and he sent my resume out to several companies, Meeting Professionals International in the UK. And several of them said, will you please come over? We want to interview you. And then out of that, I had several job offers. So you can get, you probably know this, you can get a work visa, as long as you are specialized in other areas that most people in the UK are not.
And nobody has a degree in fun.
Right.
So that's like, all right.
Yeah. So I actually got to choose. I had several job offers, chose my dream job. It was called Warren. It is still called Warren House. It's house, but it's basically a castle to us.
Okay.
So I planned and designed their events in London, and just fell in love with all things events.
How long were you in London?
How old was I?
No, how long were you there?
I was there for overall it was I don't know, 4 to 5 years.
Oh, that's a chunk.
There, yeah, but I've worked there for about almost 3 years.
Okay.
2 to 3 years. I had a 5-year work visa, but life happens. That was around the time that life started to happen. People used to say, how's Barbie world? Like she lives in Barbie world. What she dreams and thinks of, she makes happen. Well, that to me, I was like, what are you talking about? I do not understand that. Like, well, you fun things happen, exciting things happen. I'm like, but I work so hard to, my mom told me, don't be so serious, don't take life so seriously at the age 12, because I was the last one out of 5 kids late at night doing my homework. I didn't see myself as fun. I didn't see myself as, I just kind of felt like this walking nerve, like trying to implement these situations to make other people happy. And that made me happy.
Okay.
So, and I can share that now. I didn't know that then, but because of my self-awareness journey, I can look back and go, oh, that's why I decided to start doing this. So,
right.
Growing up in a huge family, all the women, my grandmother, my mom, my aunt, fun is the word. It doesn't matter what it is. If everybody's crying, they're like, oh, this is so fun. We're all together, even if we're all like bawling our eyes out. Like, just fun.
Yeah.
Parties make, tea parties, banana split parties, always grilling out. When the storm of 93 came and we're all freezing cold at my grandparents' house.
That's the winter storm that if you're listening in, I know like the friends from the north or from other places are going, what in the world? We got like, what, 20 inches of snow?
Yes.
And it shut down the city for like 2 weeks or
Yes,
something absurd.
2 weeks.
But yeah, so that's what
No
she's
power.
referring to.
Yeah, nothing. It was brutal. But you know.
So during that, you guys are cooking out and...
Yes. You know, there's no food. Everything had to go out of the freezer into the snow. So we're grilling steaks and that's what I saw growing up. You know, you make the most of it, and I also realized I'm the fourth of five, so you've got birth order, all those things impact. You know, I was always juggling everyone else's emotions, so I thought if I don't if I don't add to the mess of things, then I'm safe, and I'm even better if I can accommodate everyone else and make them happy. So I learned hospitality very quickly. And I learned if everybody's happy and smiling and having a good time, then I was so much more calm and chill. And I was like, oof, even if I was working my tail off.
Okay, so I got a follow-up question about that. You may want to edit this part out. That could very quickly become... That could very quickly become unhealthy emotionally. Like I see, so the drive to create fun space for everyone else, which is necessary, could very quickly become emotionally exhausting and unhealthy for the fun creator.
Absolutely, super codependent.
So,
yeah.
But you don't seem unhealthy now. So, like, talk through some of that.
Right. Definitely a journey. So I think, you know, the great thing is, I mean, ignorance is bliss. So up until, you know, I was in my late 20s when I was, I worked in London from mid to late 20s. And so during that time, it's all wonderful. Everything in my life, I'd only lost, not only, but I had lost my grandfather and a dog. So those were two things that I had gone through that were difficult. Everything else, even though, you know, in my mind, life, whatever it gave me, I just worked through it. That's what my parents did. We worked together. We have a really strong, solid family. So nothing seemed out of my control. It seemed like, oh, this is feasible. You've given me a challenge. Okay. I'll just work my tail off. None of it came easy, but that wasn't upsetting to me. That didn't make it any less fun. So I didn't feel that any of that, the first part, was unhealthy. But I recognize why I am the way I am. So this is a whole nother conversation, but I'm a 2 on the Enneagram. So I will say I have to give a lot of credit to my journey learning about the Enneagram, everybody that's done the research on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess when I started realizing, you know, I'm very gifted. I loved, 16-hour days, throwing those big fundraisers, galas, events, weddings. I was so excited. I loved it. And I would get home that night. My feet would be killing me. And I just knew the next day I was dead to the world. But I would leave going home on this high. I loved it. Being around all those people, making everyone laugh. And not that I'm a comedian, but, you know, just making sure everybody was happy.
Creating the space where it happens, setting the environment.
Yeah. And then I was exhausted.
And this is late 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is late 20s. And, so moved back, you know, loved that, absolutely loved that. Unfortunately, I did have to move back. We had some family members that were not well. So moved back to Birmingham and got married, started a family. And since we still had family back in London, I decided to change and start teaching event management. So change careers so that I could travel. And so I wasn't working events. I was an adjunct professor. So events pretty much slowed down for me for a good 6 years maybe, while we were having babies and raising them. And but that is when I started the journey on, whoa, I cannot spin my wheels for everyone else and survive this world. So once I was depleted of everything, clearly in London, I didn't have a family. I wasn't completely depleted. I might have had to rest my body the next day, but emotionally I was still fine.
You could go
I was
all
still
in.
good.
Yeah, there's no other demand.
Right. No other demands. So that's really when that journey began, because faced a lot of hardship. So, I guess just to pause for a second, the fun that I love to create, the fun and happiness that I live for every single day is only a result of super hard things that have happened in my life. So those super hard things have served as fuel to get back to a super healthy place of creating those environments for myself, for everyone around me.
Well, it seems like you had the purpose on the front end. It's just you got to execute it in the right way. And so often you look back in life and you see, not just with us, but it seems like a general principle that many times the area that people are either attacked the hardest or struggle the most is actually the area that is their wheelhouse, where the greatest opportunity. Even in Scripture, if you talk about radical grace, you most often quote Paul. He was a staunch legalist.
Right.
If you talk about forgiveness and mercy, people go quote David, who arguably, he summons a woman to the castle, and everybody talks about this affair with Bathsheba. I don't think it was an affair. If you're a king and you demand someone comes, like, she's coming. And then he murders and covers it up. But now he has this depth of mercy. If you talk about marriage, you quote Solomon, who had 700 wives, 300 concubines. So it seems that so often, like, your story is not uncommon.
Right.
That the call, the purpose is there. You just have to execute it in a healthy way.
Yes.
So, but now you got it moving in the right direction. In the right way.
Right. And it took, again, becoming self-aware, really receiving God's grace throughout the difficulties that I faced. Just to name a few for people to know that that I understand. I have such great compassion for others, because I have, I've lost my 2.5-year-old niece, and watching my sister and our family go through that. I've lost 2 uncles to suicide. My best guy friend took his life. Several unexpected, too early deaths in the family that up until I started my own family, everything was pretty great. And then it's like, everything just fell apart, and marriage fell apart, and I found myself wanting so badly to get back to where I was. And I remember saying, God, no one is benefiting from this. And the worst part was, it was almost fine if I wasn't benefiting from any of it, but the fact that no one else, that I couldn't see anything good happening for anyone else, was so upsetting to me. And it was about a year later, once I started seeing, like, oh, wow, okay, you just spoke to this person about that, and they told someone else, and now these people are reaching out to you because they can identify with your story.
Right.
And, that's when I finally understood we are more than conquerors. I mean, you understand that with your story, and you're sharing how we go through these things, and it might not benefit many people, or you may not see the benefit of it, but you do experience God's love and grace and compassion throughout it. And that's the one choice that I did make, even on really, really hard days, dealing with depression, that I still, at different times, of course, those circumstances would allow for depression.
Yeah.
That I would hold on to God and just say, okay, I'm just going to keep moving forward. And so years later, my boys were older. I decided to move into events again. That's what brought me the most joy. And I also knew that I had to choose the right events. I had to choose what is going to work. I cannot put myself out there and work these crazy hours because I'll come back with nothing for my children. So, you talk about, the juggling. You talk about the juggling. It's like you have to have, you have to choose what you're going to juggle, or else it's all going to fall apart. So I made that decision, and which allowed me to really dive in, and it became a family. It was a family affair. The boys love helping me with my events. I mean, we haven't done any in a year and a half because of COVID, but they enjoy it. They love telling their mom, telling their friends their mom is a party planner, and they'll walk in and see this, massive popsicle or macaroon that's as big as their torso. Like, what is this? And they'll go and they'll do setup things for me, and I'll bring in camels for an event, and they get to see. They're like, "Mom, you brought these camels in?" And that makes me really proud.
That's funny.
It's so fun. It's so fun. And I think it's the greatest thing when I see everyone, we're all just big kids. Like, we're all walking around, even though we're doing adultish things, we all love to experience that kid-like joy and that wonder. And that's really the premise behind Happy Event Company, how the theory behind it with the science of happiness. And it's proven. It's a proven theory. What increases your serotonin? What increases your dopamine, oxytocin, endorphin levels? And based on all of those things that I decided to really start researching, I created amazing events. And so everyone was happy. The clients were happy.
You were happy?
I was super happy.
You weren't stressed?
I was not stressed.
Okay.
It's stressful on the day of, but that's with any work. You have to work hard. But no.
But it was in a different place than what it was back in London and the growing up. You got it.
Right. Right. There was a big chunk of years of going through hard things. And thank goodness I wasn't actually in the industry at the time, because I was with the kids. I was getting to do really super fun events for them. Their birthdays were
I'm sure they're off the chart. Yeah.
So fun.
Pictures of the kids' birthdays.
Yeah. So I never stopped, but I am thankful for that time in which I did get to grow. And not everyone has that time, which is why I try to share as much as I can. This is what you do. This is what you need to do, no matter what work you're in, to actually physiologically adjust your brain, because you can.
Right.
And make it happier.
No, that's important, because a lot of times people think they're too busy to make the adjustments and changes that are needed. Yet when you stop and look at it, when life is falling apart, there are generally these pauses where if you will not binge Netflix,
yes,
and I'm not saying you can't. I mean,
right, because I do. By the way,
I do too. I was counting. I'll tell you where all that came from. I was counting how many Netflix series, not episodes, series I had watched before COVID.
Oh no!
So during COVID, it changed. I built this house during COVID.
Yeah.
But before that, I was in a really tough season where life fell apart, and so I had about a 2-year run where I didn't do anything. I worked on myself, and it was the most profitable. And now I work from home, so I had the opportunity. I could do that. I binged 14 entire Netflix series during that. But that was like late at night and, in the weekends and all
and
this.
And you're decompressing. That's helping your brain at times.
Yeah, and I was enjoying it. But I didn't do that at the expense of really learning and exploring
right.
and doing the tough work of the soul.
Yes.
And if you'll do that, there's this massive, incredible payoff on the other side. I've experienced that. Barbara's experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, during COVID, you pivoted because you're doing the event company, but during COVID,
everything.
Churches closed down, parks closed down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a political statement on it. It just closed down.
Right.
So you gotta do something.
Yeah. Everything froze. I had several events coming up, a few within a couple of weeks and several more within the months ahead and throughout the rest of the year that we just had to put a stop on all of it. And for the first few weeks, we postponed the events and then we all were like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. So that was okay for me. I just thought that it was going to be temporary. And I had this idea. I still say that somehow, I did not hear God speak to me. I didn't hear any of that, but I have to say that it was something bigger than me because I had an idea. Okay, you have all of these abstract things that go into your events: sight, sound, taste, smell, these things that create happiness in your brain.
Especially when you bring in a candle.
Especially.
Right. But.
Yes, that smell might not work, but the sight, just hold your nose. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a multi-sensory thing.
Yeah.
It's not just.
Yes.
You don't just walk in. I mean, there's a whole.
Mm-hmm. And it's subconscious. So the people don't know, but depending on what I was wanting or what the client was wanting the feel to be, that's what I would create. Calmer, more exciting,
you whatever it music, is. With the colors,
music,
with the lighting, with the all of it. Okay?
Everything. Create the entire ambiance. Food, everything.
That makes sense because I hung up a bunch of Christmas lights in my backyard.
Yeah.
And play music for ambiance and a fire pit.
And it makes you happy, doesn't it?
Just for the ambiance.
Right.
And it's even better if there's bourbon out there.
Exactly.
It's
serotonin levels.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And why did you bust down so many of the walls and let all the light in?
Because
you want your dopamine levels. Yeah. Set the environment. Vitamin D, you're getting all of that's changing the neurotransmitters in your brain. So that's events. I had the idea. I was seeing so many of my friends that have small businesses. They're struggling. They can't move their product. They're stuck with it. And I was in a position in which I thought, okay, what if I started with 12 boxes. I thought, what if I purchase items from these small businesses, the items specifically known to increase these happy chemicals in your brain. Put them in boxes. People can order the boxes, send them, for themselves or send them to a loved one. And that way, it's, again, you can't argue with it. It's going to make the person happy.
So you're going to put the event experience, the same things in a box. This isn't like Stitch Fix where you get like clothes or you get...
Right.
This is going to be like science.
This is science. Yes.
Okay.
Proven. So... that's
You're going to have to tell me some of the chemicals in a minute because people are going, that's not science. That's just spending money.
Yes, I know. And
but so you get these things.
And it's all
12 different boxes or 12 of the same.
It was 12 of the same type of box.
So like 12 kits you're going to send.
12 kits.
So you're not.
I just started with 12.
Okay, so this isn't like a heavy.
No.
Investment on the front end.
No.
I mean, still buying 12 of anything. Okay, so 12 boxes.
So there were like 8 to 12 items in each box.
Okay.
And this is when we're in quarantine, and I just thought this would be something fun, and I could help our Birmingham small businesses in the meantime, right? That's like it. And
so you're buying 100 items, throwing them in these boxes, helping the vendors, and then you're selling them.
Yeah.
Okay. You're the middleman that's packaging it in a fun way that's gonna give people a fun boost when they get it.
Yes, okay. Exactly. So, but the beauty behind it, and I think the reason, because I look back, I'm like, why did I do that again? That's why I think it's just, it was more than me. But I had recently finished my certification at California, Berkeley for the science of happiness. So I had all this information that I was so excited
And
about.
now it feels like a moral imperative. You got to share it with everybody.
Yes.
Because like these college kids come back, they've learned something. It's like, they're telling. So that's what you're doing with Science Fun. Okay.
Yes. And when you learn something, you just want to share it. Right. So, I had that in my head, and I knew the possibility for these people, and here we are dealing with this terrible pandemic. And so I started getting some of the items. I thought, okay, well, I know that coffee, as simple as it sounds, coffee increases your dopamine levels, and it even before you drink it, the thought, your brain's dopamine levels start boosting the second you wake up, for those that like coffee or tea, but specifically coffee, because that is your motivator. Dopamine, it's like the goal chemical. It's like, oh my gosh, okay, I can't wait to make that coffee. I have a goal. My dopamine's going up, and then you're drinking it, and then it's increasing your dopamine levels again. So we had to have coffee in there. Okay.
Okay.
Then you have your serotonin levels. Well, serotonin, that's when you really need to calm down, and people are stressed, and for me, if I'm stressed out, I really crave something sweet. Like I'm like, I will devour that whole entire birthday cake right there if I get a chance. If I'm stressed out, if I have a tough day, well, it's the same. It's because I'm stressed. My body's saying, you need serotonin. You need serotonin. The fastest way to get serotonin is through sugar, carbohydrates, but then you crash. So I do not recommend that.
Yeah, that's
the healthy way. So these are the tricks that I've learned. If you realize you're stressed out, choose the right foods or smells to calm your system. So like with your oils, those oils, that's increasing your serotonin level in a healthy way. Complex carbohydrates. We had bare naked noodles pasta in there. That's incredible pasta. Healthy for you, increase your serotonin levels, calms you down. So we had several things like that. We put in, it's yellow, that's the happiest color. Pink is the second happiest color. We try to avoid, although I love red makes people a little bit anxious.
Yeah, it's a little bit, high energy.
Yeah, high energy. So those are just a few examples, and I could go on and on.
What are some other chemicals? You earlier you mentioned like 4: dopamine, serotonin,
oxytocin.
Okay, because the only thing I know about oxytocin, I used to work in drug rehab.
Right.
So tell me about the healthy version of that.
Yeah. So oxytocin is the trust hormone, in the brain, and so hormone chemical. It's one of the it's functioning in the neurotransmitters. So when your oxytocin levels are, well, let me go back to the box. When you are communicating with someone, when you actually are speaking to someone, or you like write the handwritten note and you give that to someone, and it's nice thoughts. We're talking nice thoughts, right? Because this is happy.
Yeah, this is fun.
When the person is writing a letter or sending a box to someone, that person is getting a dose of oxytocin in their brain. And then the recipient also increases their levels of oxytocin in their brain. So if you go back to it, it's the most fundamental thing. God says, love God, love others. Well, science is just proving what God has told us to do all these years. So, when you are, it's like a mother and child. Well, the nursing mother, that's one time when the oxytocin levels for the baby and mother are skyrocketing, because it's a give and take. So if you can do that, in any sort of environment, it doesn't have to be with specifically a loved one. It could be your work colleague. If you're, one of my favorite things to recommend for people at work is in the offices is to have, a board of love letters or happy thoughts. So people will write a little note and put it in someone else's envelope that has a name on it, like, hey, you did really well in the presentation today. Or, hey, thanks so much for bringing those donuts. You're awesome. So it's not just for the receiver. The person giving, they're getting happier too. So, you have that expression, it's better to give than receive. That is very true. It works both ways. And that's the way God designed our brains.
My friend Randy, he was on here a couple weeks ago. He said he has that verse he quotes regularly from Proverbs.
Yeah.
He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed.
Yes. There you go.
That's his whole website, Be Refreshed.
Yeah. And it's scientifically proven. They have put people in these labs and seen, oh my gosh, their oxytocin levels are increasing. It's not just a heart thing. It's in the brain. It's the way God made our brain to function in this world. We have these things called mirror neurons in our brain. I'm sure, have you heard of those?
I have heard of them.
Yeah. So one of my favorite studies that Sean Acor, he does this in a lot of his work. It's the smile experiment. So if you're walking in the experiment with, I'll just give you a better example. You can go research his, but I always tell people, like, just smile. Make sure you smile to at least one stranger today. Just smile, because when you do, it's impossible for them not to. They can be really grouchy. They're going to have to work really hard to not smile back at you. So the experiment put strangers in a room together. They had to turn and look at one another, and he said to one, smile, and the other one, do the best you can to not smile back. And most of them end up bursting out.
They start laughing. Yeah. I think I saw a video of that.
Yes. It's so fascinating. That's why babies, mimic families and their parents. And so I take that and I apply to all these things. It is a science. And with my events, with my Happy City box, it was the best thing that I could do when we couldn't all see each other and we couldn't smile at each other. We couldn't hug each other. And it was a way that you could still boost the oxytocin levels in the brain, creating that trust. And when you trust more people, you're happier. You're more receptive to the world and the experiences that come to you, and you're better able to take those on and do more. It's like another thing I love his quotes is that you're bouncing forward. You're not bouncing back. When you're down, people say, I'm bouncing back. Well, you're bouncing forward. If you make those right choices and you think to yourself, okay, this is the stuff that I've gone through, and now I'm going to make the decision, as hard as it is, I'm going to make the decision to bounce forward. And so much of that is reaching out to the world around you. Don't stay in your head. That's what I try. I want people to fight that urge, because it's so easy to do. I've done it. It's really hard to do. If I'm having a bad day, sometimes I'll walk into Starbucks and they're like, hey, Barbara, how you doing? Well, usually I'm really happy to see them. I'm like, I'm great. How are you? But a lot of days I'm not great at all. So I've learned to be self-aware, and I will share with them. I say, well, actually, today is a really hard day. And they're like, oh man, I'm sorry. I say, it's okay, but how are you? And immediately I take that thought pattern off of myself. I'm true to myself.
Yeah, you own it instead of...
I own it.
Yeah, because that would not be very good to...
No. Mask it.
Yeah, push it down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to push any of that down. We all still go through hard times.
But yeah, you can express it in a healthy way instead of...
Yeah. And so, then I'm listening to them, and they will share about their day, but either way, it redirects me. Even if my day doesn't get better instantly, even if it's still hard, just that little bit of interaction gave me a boost of oxytocin. And because they're receiving it too, and we're mirroring each other. Even if they're having a really hard day, then we'll both laugh about it and move on. So it's little tiny things that you can do like that. So if you have interactions, you can do that. If you're by yourself, you can think of, be, as everyone's hearing, have a heart of gratitude. It's so simple. And sometimes it's difficult, but it really, really does work. It seems cliche. You're hearing about it. You see the gratitude charts and all of that, but it really does work. And when you share those things, when you're verbalizing,
right,
that makes a huge difference.
So the boxes now, you're beyond 12 now. You guys,
Yes.
but you guys do these by the month now, or do you do it like? Tell me, like, how do I get a box?
Yeah, So it just took on a life of its own. The demand increased, and then businesses and corporations found out about them. So we started doing custom boxes. And I have different businesses that I try to alternate.
Yeah.
So businesses, I've done some in Nashville, mostly Birmingham right now. There's a link on my website, happyeventco.com. Right now we have the Mother's Day boxes out there. And since we are growing so quickly, we're working on getting a new website, but there's a link for corporate or individual boxes. Just send me an email and we'll be able to customize it.
I'll put a link down in the show notes where you guys can get on there, and I'll put all of our social media feeds.
Yeah.
You like your boys stuff boxes, or is it beyond that? Like
They were super pumped about it at first, but even now if I tell them, I'm like, I'm going to pay you. They're like, how much?
That's what my kids are like. Yeah, they're like, is it worth the work? I'm like, I'm your parent. I'll make you do it for free if you don't want to step up.
You can either do it and get paid.
You can do it and get paid with the smile, or you can do it without a smile. One way's fun and one way's not fun, but we're getting these. Right. Yeah, I don't know if that's what you want to do. Okay, right. You also do some coaching about fun, because you're certified. Tell me about the Science of Fun thing.
Yeah, so I started my certification, like I said, at California, Berkeley. It is for Science of Happiness. So I initially did that pre-COVID because I was working with all of these different businesses and planning their events. And so I'm sharing all this information with them. Well, I thought, well, gosh, I'm learning about this. Why don't I just take it to the next level, and they can actually have, individual coaching. I can work with their businesses, show them how they can transform their workspace, different things that they can implement. And then COVID hit. But the great thing about that, and I do encourage companies, I am still, even though I haven't gotten back into that yet, I'm still very happy to work, doing Zoom calls. And
things are coming back. Everything's coming back on now.
Thank goodness.
So that's coming.
I'm looking forward to that because it increases, the bottom line. The profitability, the stats are there. Like the business's profitability increases as long as from the ground up, the staff are happy.
Right.
And it's the owner or those that are at the top that they're implementing it. It has to be from the bottom. It has to come from the top.
Yeah, it can't just be another chore that people have to do.
Right. And it's phenomenal. But yeah, the stats are just crazy on what profitability comes from creating a happy environment at work.
Is that related to Sean Acor's book?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I got that book a couple years ago. This will be a telltale sign on me. I read a lot of it, and then I couldn't make it through it because it was solid, but it was like, I'm more task driven. So like I had to stink and go do something. And then I got into my whole crash out a couple years ago where I was working on myself.
Yes.
And so I didn't have time, but I've got it on the shelf of books to finish it. And I'll finish it. Like now this is convincing me to
the happiness advantage.
Yeah. And I heard him speak at a keynote somewhere. I was like, this is phenomenal.
Right.
Not something I would have come up with at all, and not what I would have expected at all. That fun was actually going to have a line that you could clearly quantify related to business, but I mean, sure enough.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay, so give me some practical things. If people have been listening, they can go buy a box, or they can reach out if they have a business and want coaching or want to be featured or all that kind of stuff. But
right.
What are like practical things that people can do that are related to fun? I mean, not like, oh, go play putt-putt or go play. I mean, I think every week somebody needs to do something fun, probably even, but like just practical.
Yes. Okay. So fun, you have your meditation, you have all those, gratitude charts, like I said. So that's one thing. That's being happy, that's staying calm, that's keeping your cortisol levels low. But then there's fun, which I love. And for example, choose your music. On the way over here, I was listening to Huey Lewis and the News. I mean, silly, playful songs that whatever it is that you love, and dance. I don't care if you were the worst dancer in the world.
Well, that's item number 2 is to dance.
Yes.
Okay, go back to the music, because yes, I agree, because if you listen to the soundtrack that's playing and I told my kids this one day, and I don't, people are going to say all kinds of comments about race and culture on this, but if you listen to the soundtrack that's playing in Mountain Brook and in Cahaba Heights and where I live, it is a completely different soundtrack on the music that you hear in cars that are going by in the inner city.
Yes.
And you can say what you want to say about it. Well, that's racist or whatever. Look at the fruit of it.
Right.
So what you listen to, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
I agree.
So that's a practical thing, is to stop listening to the news.
Yes.
Put on some music or something encouraging that's filling your soul or something.
I mean, some songs, you have your melancholy songs. I have it, but occasionally find a couple of times during the week. If you can do it every day, that's amazing. But a couple of times during the week, choose some songs with great melodies that are lighthearted, that most likely they might sound cheesy, but if you can find time to turn those on in your car, listen to it. Better yet, with whether you're by yourself or with other people, dance. Move your body. If that's just fun, silly, happy. It's not a full-on workout. I totally recommend having that workout, but these are things.
Workout's fun to me.
It's fun workout. Yes. See?
Okay.
So
move.
Yeah. But the practical, healthy, happy, fun, people know those things. You do need to work out. You do need to get your heart rate going at least for 20 minutes a day. You need to do those things. But for me, fun, creating that environment, change your water up. Get some sparkling water. Add some strawberry electrolytes to your water. Just change your lifestyle up just a little bit.
So small things that would boost.
Yeah. Your endorphins. Those are all, and it's increasing your dopamine levels. Anytime you decide, hey, I'm going to change. I'm going to go find the one sunny place where I can sit outside today for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Get that vitamin D. Always get outside. And if it's a rainy day, then wear bright colors. Put your bright yellow on, put your, that's a good shirt. You've got on your red and yellow. If a dreary day outside, choose some bright colors. You see?
I got the Bring the Joy shirt on.
Yeah.
That you can, but when you see it when you get in the mirror, it's like a mirror reversed image.
I noticed
right?
it. It took me a minute for it to register.
So it seems like this fun thing is not necessarily, a lot of people when they're thinking fun, they're like, oh, I gotta have some fun. I gotta go do this huge thing.
Right.
And so what I'm getting is maybe that's not the best approach. Those are great.
Those are great.
But do something incrementally keep putting fuel in your tank.
Yes.
In small doses. And then when you get a big thing, you get to go watch a movie, you get to go out to eat, you get to go to a party, you get to do, you get to go to the beach, you get to go on a hike, you get to, those are great, but...
Yeah, those are all great, but it's not possible for everyone.
And it's not possible every minute. Like we got real stuff we got to do. We got to, do the yard and clean the house and get the kids fed and to bed and, stream Netflix.
Right. And these things don't cost anything. I think that's one huge reason why I really started researching all of this, is because what I knew about what would make me happy wasn't necessarily something that I could do anything about, especially being a young mom. So I had to find other ways to create a happy environment for myself, for my children. And, go into a park, choose a park where there are, animals, kids around. If you see a dog that's on a walk with another neighbor and they say you can pet them, and they're, the caveat be, are you sure I can pet your dog? But walk over there, pet the dog. Those kind of interactions, they don't cost a thing. They take 2 seconds out of your day, and I promise you will leave happier. It's like, take time to smell the roses, but take time to smile at other people. Take time to look at the animals and look at nature. And when you're at work, close your eyes, stop looking at the computer, and think about something that you're looking forward to. Create something to look forward to, even if it's getting that, like for me, I work really hard during the day, and then I pick the kids up, but I reward myself with my tall blonde flat white.
When you pick the kids up.
Yes, it's like, yes,
that's the carrot at the end of the...
That's the carrot. Look for those little tiny things. And, there's just a lot of different things. Have a tiny bit of chocolate. Treat yourself.
All right. Anything else? Like, I got so much information here. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah. I got a Bible verse for you, and then I always pray my way out of this thing. So that's how I kind of end. Okay, so that you were saying, okay, I think I had this moment of inspiration, but I'm not sure where it came from. I don't know that it was God, but it wasn't me. It had to be so. You remember that whole thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's this verse in the New Testament, 1 Corinthians 2:16. Paul says, I just had to look it up to make sure I had the right address for it on my phone.
Yeah.
So I could tell you, it's not just, it's somewhere in the Bible.
Good work.
Paul says, you have the mind of Christ.
Right.
That word in the Greek language is not but mind in the sense of we think of thoughts or brain. It's actually the word imagination. And so it is.
My mind is blown.
Yeah. So you think when you're created in God's image, He is a creator. And God is love. You're created, designed to love.
Yes.
All of these things are, these are all things that we know.
Right.
But there is this creativity spark that's there too because of the imagination. One of my friends, he's a coach. He was on here a couple weeks ago.
Right.
He says you're created to create something that only you can create. Brandon Lazar, if you want to go back and listen to that episode.
Yeah. Wow.
And he's talking about business and finding your purpose, but it's because you have
the mind of Christ,
imagination, which is not just his ability to chart algebra and all that. Right. And I think it's why when kids are so young, they tend to be so creative and they can have fun. I mean, it's why boys get sticks and all of a sudden they're swords.
Right.
It's not because they're violent. Boys kind of are, but it's the imagination. They're hardwired for it. It's why you can, give people, give boys. My experience is only boy. I'm a boy. So you give them, Lincoln Logs or Legos, they're gonna build something.
Right.
And that's why your boys are gonna do that. You give them a stack of wood, you're gonna come back. There's gonna be a fort in the backyard.
Yes.
Because they've got this creativity and this imagination.
Yeah.
And it's not just, that person's creative, that one's not. It's no, it's you have the imagination of Christ in you.
Right.
So.
And that is so spectacular because I love, especially during springtime, I love looking at everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, whether it's here in the South or if I go somewhere else, seeing God's creation, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger to me. And So that really stands out a lot. So it's nice to know. Yeah, it's the imagination. I love that.
That's
the
science
image
right there.
in the mind. Yes.
That's all right. Thank you. Thanks for being
Thank you,
here.
Randy.
All the links for everything are going to be down below, where you can go find out about coaching, find out about a box, find out everything that Barbara's doing. Her website link there as well. Here's my prayer for you this week is that the Lord would bless you, that He'd keep you, He'd be gracious, that He would make His face of favor to shine upon you, that you would succeed, live up to your God-given potential. That's how we define that. In the area of your field, that's your work. In the area of your family, in the area of friends and connection, in the area of your fitness and your health. Be blessed in your area of your finances and all of these important areas. But also, don't overlook. May you sense the imagination of Christ that's in you, pulling you specifically into some area this week of fun. Grace and peace. I'll see you soon.